Hi, welcome to Inline Pilot. I wanted to make this short video about skate frame for inline skating, which is called Decode 90 frame from IQON. And as the name says, it's meant for 4x90mm wheels, but it's very versatile. It can also handle, as you can see, an H-block for aggressive skating. You can grind on a rail with this if you put 72mm wheels here. And it also has an option for 3x 110mm wheels. But it's got another option that's not official, which I found out yesterday, which I'm really excited about. I already love this frame, but now I love it even more. So I can't wait to share it. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to hit the like button so others can see this too. So let's get into the topic. First I wanted to explain why I chose this frame. I'm new to skating. I started inline skating 6 months ago, and I bought the Next urban skate as my first skate. And this skate comes with 125mm wheels, which I already learned that it was not the right wheels to start skating as a beginner. But eventually I want to use them because I want to be skating in the city and in the Netherlands, although big roads are nice asphalt, but small streets are usually cobblestones and quite rough surfaces, so a big wheel like this is much better for that. But of course, I'm just a beginner. I don't really have the experience to handle this kind of wheels. First of all, they're a lot higher, but it's not really a problem for me since my height is 1.90 m, so it's not really a problem. But the main issue that I also found out when I tried it is that they roll really, really well. And that sounds great, but streets aren't always flat. So if you got the road is going down a little bit, these things just pick up speed so quickly, and if you don't know how to brake yet, that gets you into trouble really, really quickly. So immediately I found out, yeah, okay, I'll have to buy another frame. So let's find out what the options are. So I've been looking around a little bit, and I thought I already learned that it might be a nice option to have a possibility to have a rockered frame. Rockered frame is where you've got the middle wheels are a little bit lower than the outside wheels, and so that means that your turning base is much smaller and you can make turns much easier, and I think especially as a beginner this is really useful to learn how to turn and use your skates. And I found out it's really even better than I thought. It feels really like if you're like going through turns and you can do carving and stuff, it's so much better than having a flat frame. So I'm really happy that I bought this frame as a beginner already. But I thought it's also nice that it has an option for 3x 110mm wheels, because 90 is good for beginning. For me, since I'm a tall person, 90 is okay. But if I want to go immediately to 125, maybe the step is too large. So maybe it's good to have the option to have 110mm wheels first. So that's why I chose this frame. There's one big downside though, and that's probably why it's not really picking up so much attention yet on other inline skaters on YouTube. And that's because the frame doesn't have any notches that are needed to space the wheels away from the frame so the wheels do not rob the frame. Like if you look at the normal frame that came with these skates, you can see there's a little bit metal sticking out just behind the wheel. And come on, focus, please. Just a minute. Okay. So there, you can see clearly there's something sticking out. But if you have something sticking out, then you got in this frame you got you got holes at multiple places. And if you got something sticking out everywhere, then the wheels will rub against that, so it wouldn't work. So that's why in this frame they chose to not have anything in the middle, and instead have the bearings with something sticking out. So this is like a normal bearing that you find in normal all the other inline skates frames. This is a wicked one. But then for the Decode frame you need the bearing which has a little bit of an edge sticking out. So that means that you're stuck with these bearings. So that's something that if you're like you're a fan of certain bearing type, like the ABEC 9 type accuracy, then yeah, you don't really look forward to getting like being stuck to a certain type of bearing. But especially for a beginner, that's not really that much of an issue. And I would argue it's not even for an advanced skater. But yeah, this is something that opinions will be different about. But often you see people showing how good a bearing is by the way that the wheel turns when you spin it. Well, let me show you that these two wheels, I used the Decode bearings for both. It's just the same bearing, but this wheel I put oil in the bearing, and this wheel I put grease in the bearing. And grease it's actually better for bearings. It lasts longer. It sticks to the wheels longer. But it has a little bit of resistance, as you can see. If I turn it stops really quickly. If I turn this, it spins a lot longer, just because of the oil. It's not because of the bearing. So if anybody shows you like how good a bearing is by turning the wheel, this is the same bearing. It doesn't matter. It's really about how you roll and skate when you're on the street, and that you can only find out by trying. So I really can't say more about that. But the Decode bearings do come in two types. They have like, this one is the normal one, the gold one. It's just metal, and they have also a ceramic one. So if you want to do speed skating, that should be less resistance. But you don't want to use that for jumps and stuff, I guess, because the ceramics are more brittle and fragile. So anyway, I don't really mind it, and I cleaned the bearings already myself and put some new grease in. So I don't mind being stuck to those bearings because I can clean them. I don't have to buy new ones every time they're dirty. Anyway, so onto the subject that I found out recently, which this frame can do, which it's not supposed to do, but I found it is possible. Like the only thing I really didn't like is that I couldn't go to 125 on this frame. So this is like meant for 110 maximum. And the standard frame that came with the skates, it doesn't have any rocker option. Even the middle wheel is even a little bit. That's just because of the surface. But as you can see, it's just a flat setup. It's no rocker. This is not lower. And I really started to like the rockered setup so much that I thought, too bad if I want to go to 125. Either I have to lose the rocker or I have to buy another frame. And then yesterday I thought, I was just like thinking about different wheel setups, and I was thinking, well, what if I tried to fit this wheel in the, I mean, it probably wouldn't work, right? Because it should be 110 maximum. But then I tried it, and look at this. It actually fits. I just put 125mm wheels in the Decode 90 frame, and it fits. Okay. It's very, very tight fit, but it works. I tried it on my feet, and this works fine. But if you can see, like in this frame, there is already a very small space between the wheels and the boot, and this frame is even 2mm shorter. So there's even 1mm less between the wheels. If you can have a look, see. There you can hardly see any space. It's like, okay, there you can see. And then, this, of course, you need a boot which has some kind of like recess to give some space to the wheel. And on the bolt, that's really close. If I can show that, the bolt under the back wheel, it's really close. It's like almost touching, but there's still a little bit of space left. And these wheels are not worn. They're like brand new. I only skated on it once. They still have like the small, the little edge in the middle. So it's not like they're worn or anything. So they actually fit. So I really was surprised by this, because nobody says that it can fit on this frame. Okay, quick update. I found out why they say that the 125 wheels do not fit on the frame, because actually I got some spacers in the frame and I took them out, and now it doesn't really roll very well. So it's almost like loose, but it's like touching the boot now. And so yeah, it normally, if you just like put the wheels in the frame, normally it wouldn't fit, but because I had these spacers under the frame, it was actually working. And the reason I had the spacers is because this is a set of 3 spacers. There's also one in the back, but I glued it onto the frame to make it easier to mount the frame. And it's called the Stride Control, which is sold by Powerslide. And I needed to put the tilt to the wheels, because the normal sideways motion of the frame was not enough for me to balance my feet, because the way my feet are, they're a bit asymmetric. So I needed to have the extra sideways tilt to balance my feet and to get a straight edge in the middle of the wheels. And that's why I had the spacers, and that's why it was actually working. But they also sell another set by Powerslide, which is called Pitch Control, which is you can actually choose to have the back one or the front one to kind of like change the angle of the frame a little bit. But you could also put, if you would put all of them, the back one and the front one, the 2 of the front, then of course you also probably get rid of this rubbing. So although it doesn't fit normally out of the box, it's not that much effort to actually get it to working. This is the Powerslide Next 4243, and of course this has a Trinity frame. The Decode frame also comes in variants for 2 other frame mounts. This mount, Trinity mount, has 2 bolts in the front, which means that there's a gap in the front for the front wheel, which makes it possible to fit these large wheels. If, of course, I guess the other 2 mounts would never fit the 125mm wheels. But in this case it works as long as you get some spacers. Luckily I needed some spacers anyway, so for me it was no problem. And it works, so I can't wait to try these out at the track. So yeah, let's go.
afslaan, ja Claire? Ja, oké. Hoezo wil je eigenlijk afslaan? Hier kunnen we afslaan en we moeten...
Alright, that was quite an interesting experience. I'm sorry if I come across a little bit tired, because I'm a little bit tired. Although I got some things to share, I hope I can get through them. Well, first of all, in terms of agility, the rockered setup with the middle wheel pivoting, it was like not much difference in terms of agility compared to the rockered frame with the 90mm. So for me, that was really a positive experience. But I think it's also because I also noticed if you're like the edge is not balanced to your foot, like I did with this shift to the inside and the Powerslide stride control spacers. If I wouldn't adjust it, you would really notice that it pulls on the cuff on your ankle. So you really need to get the edge right, and then if it's right, then I find it very nice to skate. All my techniques were still the same. I could still do all the things that I usually do on the 90mm frame. So that was positive. And also, I was expecting it to handle rough roads very well. And that was a bit of a mixed experience, because it's wonderful in normal asphalt, and like if you got normal okay asphalt, it makes it smooth. If you got smooth asphalt, it makes it like you're skating on ice. It's really amazing, these big wheels. However, I was hoping that it would also smoothen out the brick road, the rough brick road that I often go through, but it didn't make any difference. I think it's because like it still bounces up and down the same. But when I tried, like you can also the rocker, you can also in this frame you can turn this bolt around. I didn't mention it before, but you can also make it in flat frame, like a flat setup, which has all the wheels on the same height. And when I tried the rough road with that, it did really feel less bumpy. So I don't know if that would be the same as if I use a flat setup on 90. I think it would be not as smooth. So that was good, but I don't want to go on a flat setup actually. I really love the rockered. Even on the 25mm, I thought it might be unstable at high speeds, but it felt totally stable even with the rocker. In terms of speed, I was expecting a little bit more increase, like I could go 25 kilometers per hour on 90mm wheels, and in 125 I reached 27 kilometers per hour. So I was a bit disappointed by that. First I thought that maybe the rocker, this middle wheel, there's a lot of resistance on that compared to the other ones. Maybe if I put it into flat mode, like I showed, maybe that would be faster, but it was exactly the same, although it was like 26.7 in the rockered and 27.1 but in the flat setup. But I think it's just a matter of lots of variations. I don't think it matters in speed, so that was also nice, because that means I don't lose any speed by rockering the frame. Oh yeah, I didn't mention it, but the frame comes in two colors. So this is the black and gold one, and I chose this color because I think it fits the skate very well. with the brown edge on the top and a gold thing. But if it weren't for like thinking that this would be great for a color, I would choose the aluminium version, which is just bare metal, because this scratches really easily, and if you got some scratches, it's just the paint goes off very quickly. So I would recommend, if you don't care about like having black color, just get the other color without any paint. So I think that would be, it would take longer before it becomes a bit ugly. I don't know if it becomes too worse, too bad, then I might just sand it and get rid of the paint. I don't know. Anyway, that's just a practical issue. Another practical issue is that 125mm wheels are a bit expensive. I couldn't find very cheap ones. So I'm not sure if, since it doesn't really help much with rough roads, as I expected, the advantage is not as much as I hoped. So I think I might just keep these wheels for like long distance skating sometimes. But I do like the 3-wheel setup. It's kind of agile. I was afraid it was like a little bit unstable, because for the 90mm wheels you use the holes here, and then for the 125 it's a little bit more inwards. It's a little bit short, the base. So the base that touches the ground, it's a bit shorter. So I also a bit worried it would be unstable. But I didn't notice any more instability. So I think I will try maybe 110mm wheels someday. But for now, since I'm really practicing the braking, sliding stuff, I'm just eating up wheels, and I don't want to be destroying expensive wheels too much. So for now, I'll go back to 90 or maybe 100, 110. I'm not sure. So okay. Well, I was curious if you also tried these wheels on the frame, like 125 wheels on another skate maybe, or maybe you've got another, like not the Trinity mount version of the Decode 90, but one of the other two mounts, the UFD and 165 or something. I'm curious if you tried 125 wheels. Just maybe put some comment below and tell us, share your own experience, because I'm not sure on how many boots this would actually fit, because this has really much space here, but not every skater for the Trinity mount might have the same amount of space. I don't know. Anyway, so I like it. I like the experience. I'm glad I tried it. I'm also glad I didn't buy a rockered frame for 125 only. So I'm really happy that it fits on this Decode frame. Well, so I think that this frame kind of does it all for me right now. What I tend to do in near future. But if I would ever get another frame, I might consider the Decode frame for 110mm wheels, which fits 4 110mm wheels. This can fit 3, but Decode 110 fits 4 110mm wheels, and it also has 125mm wheels further apart. So I think that would be interesting for longer distances, a bit more stability. And then if I really want to like go through the bumpy roads, put it in a flat setup, really long. It's not very agile, but that might be something I might consider. But other than that, I really love the rockered setup. But when I tried the flat one today to do the speed test and the bumpy road test, immediately when I put my feet down, it's like I'm just stuck to the ground, and I'm just used to putting my foot on the ground and then moving it in the direction I want. But then when you get a flat setup, it's really different, and it puts a bit more strain on knees, I find, because when you can have to push more, so you can still do the turning, but it just takes more effort. And I think when you turn your knee in order to turn your foot, but your foot is kind of like having friction, then it puts more strain on the knee joint. It puts a bit more torsion. So I think it's also much healthier to have the rockered frame, especially for a beginner, if you're still not having much strength in your ligaments or whatever. Yeah, that's why I really love it, and I can recommend beginners to use the rockered setup instead of the flat one. So and also, so I found it not unstable at high speed, but of course, if you're not used to the rockered frames, you will not feel very stable, I guess. But I think it really It tells you how you place the weight of your foot, if you place it on the front wheel or the back wheel or in the middle. And it really gives a feedback on how you put your weight on the foot. So once you get used to it, I think it's good also to learn about that. And then it's not really very unstable at high speeds. So I think that's all I wanted to say about that. And thanks for watching this video. Give a like if you liked the video. And I hope to see you in the next video. So, bye.